Hey everyone, I wanted to actually write down my thoughts this time after a 3.5-hour session of talking about this stuff on stream with people about what's transpired over the past couple of days. We've gotten some new information, we've gotten a clearer picture as to what's going on, so let's talk about it. This is purely audio, by the way. I don't even know what I'm putting for video. It might literally just even be a black screen. So you can just toss me up in the background, you're not gonna miss anything. Also, I'm going to be on SkillUp's podcast, Friends Per Second, this week, talking about all this stuff. First, let's talk about the new information. It has been reported that sales at Bungie for Destiny were running 45% below projections for the year, and that the layoffs are a part of a bigger thing happening over at PlayStation. That 45% revenue figure is projections. Whether or not they are in the red or in the black, I am not too sure of. I'm imagining a world where PlayStation saw these numbers and told Bungie that something needed to happen. However, IGN reports that, quote, Bungie took responsibility for the layoffs rather than laying them at the feet of parent company Sony. Parsons, CEO, told employees that the layoffs were largely due to underperformance of Destiny 2 over the last year, as well as lower than expected pre-orders for the upcoming expansion, The Final Shape. End quote. It did not matter who you were at Bungie, I guess, unless you were a part of upper management or leadership, as I have not heard anything on those higher end positions in those areas. It didn't matter. You were not safe. New hires, old guard, didn't matter what department. Everyone was subjected to this, including very senior employees, like back from the Halo days and earlier. Even Michael Salvatore, you know, the main music guy, along with Michael Seacrest, both are gone. Although it has been confirmed that the music for Final Shape has been recorded and is probably in the process of getting mastered for the expansion at this time. In total, it looks like about 100 people, or 8% of the company. Employees are getting 3 months of severance and insurance, but I assume the fate of any contract workers or non-full-time employees is probably a bit worse. IGN is also confirming reports that the expansion has been moved to June 2024 and Marathon pushed to 2025, which has been in development since 2019, and Bungie has yet to say anything about anything that has happened. I don't know if there's going to be a TWAB or TWID on Thursday when this video comes out. We'll see. If there is, I will post it in the description if it has anything of substance. These poor revenue numbers compared to projections are based on the fact that Lightfall was not exactly a hit and that interest in the game has waned over the past few months. This should be pretty apparent to most people active on the game. Play times are down across the board. We hit near record high numbers during Lightfall, and we have crashed down to one of the lowest peak player counts ever, with November 2023 having potential to be the lowest, in addition to October 2023 having the lowest average concurrent players since Steam charts started tracking the information in 2019. Keep in mind those numbers are for Steam only, but I'm guessing they correlate with the other platforms to some degree. The thing that is probably one of the more frustrating things to hear is this quote. Quote, employees were also told that Destiny 2 player sentiment was at an all-time low. Sources tell IGN that this issue had been flagged to leadership repeatedly for months prior to the layoffs, with employees begging for necessary changes to win players back. End quote. This is followed up by the frustration that probably the majority of people laid off had nothing to do with decisions made by upper management, but had to suffer the penalties of their decisions anyway, which isn't exactly anything new when it comes to layoffs, unfortunately. That is most of the new stuff that I've seen. I know Astacross put out a video talking about Marathon and content creators that were invited to play it, stuff along those lines, saying how they thought it wasn't good or whatever, but I will let you review that video on your own time because I have had zero engagement with Marathon whatsoever, including talking to anyone who has played it outside of a 2-sentence conversation that I had a while ago with an anonymous person who basically said, yeah, I checked it out. I have not played Marathon. I have not been invited to any events, and that is not me just trying to dodge an NDA. I have not played nor seen anything about Marathon, and honestly, I will be very surprised if I do before its release. I am not exactly the target market for the game based on the limited information that we know of, and I would be surprised at this point if Bungie invited Destiny 2 creators to check out the game just as a, you know, hey, come check out the game because you've been covering Destiny for so long, kind of a deal, you know what I mean? So, am I feeling much different compared to when the news first started to break? Not really. I'm still really bummed about the situation as a whole. Shocker. I feel bad for all the employees who got laid off. I knew a few of them, so I'm hoping they get back on their feet. I feel bad for the people at Bungie who just had to watch their friends and coworkers get laid off just instantly, just like that, and now have to try to right the ship with much fewer people at the helm, 8% fewer people. According to Jason Schreier, feedback internally for Final Shape was, quote, good, not great, end quote, which is part of the reason as to why Final Shape got delayed. One of the big questions I got during the 3.5-hour live stream that I did recently, linked in the description, is what can Bungie realistically do to improve Final Shape in the extra time that they've given themselves? And honestly, I have no idea. Thank you for your honesty, Datto. You're welcome. To take a game that is getting good, not great, feedback, something that I feel is probably pretty locked in at this point, and turn it around into something that even gets great, not amazing feedback in 3 to 4 months while you just suffered layoffs seems incredibly difficult. I've said it a million times. Destiny knows what it is, and to see significant shifts just seems unlikely. And at this point, I don't know what it would take to get Destiny to overcome a barrier like that. I really don't. People asked if Bungie would do another big community summit, and I think that's unlikely, especially after what feels like a chunk of their community team and events manager, shout out Bianchi, love you, got laid off. And I don't know if this situation is lighting a fire in people's hearts to really come out with some wild new stuff to experiment with for Destiny, or if people are just feeling completely defeated about the whole situation. Probably the latter right now, hopefully the former later. A lot of feedback about people canceling their pre-orders as a result of all this. Cancel your pre-order, boycott the game, If you want to cancel your pre-order, I'm not going to judge you for it. If this is where the line is for you, you don't want to be involved anymore, you have every right to cancel your pre-order, not play the game. But the opposite is also the same. I don't think people should get mad about others keeping their pre-order and wanting to see this story to its end. It's what I'll be doing. I've come too far at this point to not see the end of this. You know, sunk cost fallacy and all that, I know, but I'm a bit more invested than the average person, I think. Don't harass people for keeping their pre-order. Don't harass people for canceling theirs. There is no correct approach. There is only your approach. There is nothing wrong for wanting to support the people, the individual people and developers at Bungie who are going to try their damnedest to make the Final Shape a satisfying conclusion. But as I've also said before, it is not your job to care about the plight of game development. I try to educate about it, but at the end of the day, it's not your job to care about how hard it is to make video games or anything related to it. Speaking of individual employees, Joe Blackburn's name was brought up a bunch, and how much blame he should be receiving for any of the events that have transpired. In my opinion, based on the information that we have right now, that answer should probably be close to zero. Joe is not a business guy. He's not handling financial data. He's the game director. And as far as I know, probably did not have much to do with what happened. He might have known maybe some things were happening earlier than others. Maybe that's about it. Now, could you blame him for not directing the game in a specific way that would have driven more people to the game? Maybe. If people aren't interested in playing the game, that's going to lead to lower sales. But I think to target him directly and specifically as the crux of all the problems at this moment in time would be incorrect. If more information comes out that points in that direction, sure, okay, point some blame. If there is blame to be placed, it's probably on upper management, which I feel like I've always heard stories of being an issue at Bungie. Just, you know, grapevine stuff. I don't have anything concrete, but the fact that I hear about it as often as I do leads me to believe that things can probably be done better. That's all conjecture. Take it with a grain of salt. You know, let's move on from that. The don't over-deliver GDC talk came up a bunch as well, about making sure you are delivering a constant stream of content without going too overboard. I was going to make a full video on that at some point. I just never really got around to it. While it has been said in that very conference talk that potentially good ideas were held back as a result of trying to not over-deliver on content, part of the over-delivery message was to not overwork your employees. If Bungie comes out with a season that has more content than usual, that becomes the new norm, that people equate a season to. And if Bungie would be unable to deliver that amount of content every season, people will get upset. That leads to needing to produce more and more content every season, which won't be sustainable. That leads to crunch, that leads to burnout, that leads to a worse product, that leads to unhappy employees. I'm not saying that's the entire equation, but it is a small part of it. Obviously, Bungie not being able to experiment or put things they believe to be good into the game is not great news to hear, and plays into the comments made by IGN, where people have been speaking about the low morale of the player base and not really being able to do much about it. That sucks. But speaking of delivering content, I don't think Season 23 will experience too many issues as a result of what's happened. It's much more long-term kind of stuff that will be affected. Season 23 is probably very set in stone and is basically fully cooked, including potential mid-season changes and whatnot. What I don't see happening is anything in the gap where we have this delay. The second 3 months of Season 23, in my opinion, are going to be bare bones. I don't think Bungie has the time to make new stuff for it, especially if they need to do more to beef up Final Shape. They can't pull from Episode 1, because Episode 1 is post-Final Shape events, and they can't pull from Season 24 because it doesn't exist. Season 23 is the last season. So I'd be very surprised if Bungie was able to come up with content to fill the void during this time. Destiny 3 questions have popped back up. Is this a time for Destiny 3 to happen now? And I don't think my tone has shifted on the Destiny 3 conversation situation at all. I think Destiny 2 would need to go into a very significant hibernation for Bungie to even think about Destiny 3. They're in a vicious cycle right now. Poor revenue leads to budget cuts, which leads to fewer people working on the game, which can lead to less content being made, which can lead to less revenue, etc., etc. It's probably going to take Bungie 3 months to even recover from the layoffs, figuring out how to replace the work that is now gone without hiring new people to do that work. That's also part of the delay with Final Shape. Bungie's current job is to try to find a way to course correct and try to just blow people out of the water with Final Shape. And even if they do blow people out of the water, that's still not going to stop a significant portion of the community from dropping the game entirely after Final Shape, because some people were going to do that anyway. Final Shape needs to be a banger to inspire confidence in people to stick around after the main show is over. Bungie also needs to figure out how to onboard new people into the game as well. They're not going to be able to live off of a dwindling population of people. They need to figure out new ways to get new people into the franchise. I thought they could hold on until after Final Shape in order to really make a push for this, but it's looking bleak. I'm going to keep it a buck. I understand the need for old content to be removed from the game. DCV, I don't like it. I understand why it needs to happen, but that doesn't change the fact that people don't want to hop into the game if they can't do it from the start of the game. For starters, I know this stuff goes on sale all the time, but make it easy for people to get into the game at any point in the year. I know the game's free to play. I'm not talking about that. Shadowkeep, make it free. Forsaken Pack, make it free. Beyond Light, $5. Witch Queen, $5 to $10. 30th anniversary pack, $5. Do something to make getting into the game a little bit easier versus waiting for a sale. Yes, I know that I've said millions of dollars of research has gone into pricing things a very specific way to extract the most amount of money, but dude, get some fresh blood in the game. Try something, man. Why is Shadowkeep still base $25 or $30, whatever it is? Jeez. Questions about the future. What happens with Final Shape and what happens with episodes? Or after that? I think episode 1 is safe. I still think we get episode 1. And I would say episodes 2 and 3 are fairly likely. Bungie might have had layoffs, but they're still a big company, and they still need to make something to support all of the people who work for the company. But again, it comes down to trying to entice people to stay with the franchise. Most of my season recap videos can be summarized with, it was just more Destiny. And it's very clear that just more Destiny is not going to cut it. I've said it a bajillion times. I think I said that at the end of Beyond the Light. People are tired, they're fatigued, and 2023 has been one of the best years for gaming in terms of good games to play since the year 2000, but ironically, one of the worst for game dev layoffs. So Destiny is stale, and there are a million other great games out there that people are going to want to play instead, ranging from indie to AAA. And the longer those other games keep you away from Destiny, the less likely you're going to want to return without something awesome pulling you back. And again, even if Final Shape is the traveler's gift to gaming, you are still going to have people who are just done with the franchise. It's a very difficult spot to be in. For those of you who are getting annoyed that I'm not blaming someone yet, this paragraph goes out to you. I think I'm struggling with pinpointing the people to blame, other than maybe someone like Pete Parsons, who is the CEO, because I feel like I don't know who to even target, which is why I'm more on the side of empathy for the individuals at Bungie versus trying to target like Bungie Corp. When there's just some mysterious Bungie / Sony ? Illuminati upper management group just apparently controlling everything, and why there are issues with the game and them not caring about anything the employees are saying about this. Who do you target? This nameless, faceless entity of upper management? Cool Guy posted a video, I put it in the description, going over Glassdoor reviews that employees can give about their employer. And every negative is just upper management this, upper management that. And this is not a new phenomenon. Trust me on that. It's not new. How do you target or accuse or hold someone accountable when it's just this blob of people who apparently control the whole damn show? You point, and there's just this giant mass of something that is unidentifiable, which makes upper management both completely accountable for the issues and also completely unaccountable because it's just a blob of nebulous nothingness. Sure, Pete Parsons, he's in the picture. CEO is usually the first person you look at. And if these quotes are accurate, him saying we kept the right people, as noted by one of the articles in the description, is just a bonehead quote when you ditch people like Salvatore. How much blame do you assign to him for the issues with the game? All of it? He's a CEO. He's top dog. I don't know what he does day to day. Some of it, surely, because he's the CEO, right? I'm not defending him. I just don't know. I genuinely don't know. I want to be mad at something. Upper management. That's not satisfying. I don't know where to focus this anger. I think a lot of people don't. I think that's part of the problem, is that we can't just look at someone and be like, you! Like, there's nowhere to just pinpoint it. So instead, I focused my energy a lot more on just the empathy for the people actually making the game on the ground floor. And this paragraph is something that I don't think I really harped on enough during my live stream because I just didn't know how to word it at the time. I got a lot of questions about me and just other creators in the D2 space. How am I feeling about the whole thing? What's going on with my sabbatical that I mentioned a while ago? I mean, I'm not feeling great. You know, this is the bleakest that I have ever felt about things. You know, Curse of Osiris, Season 10, those things were things that you could game design your way out of, you know? Those were game problems specifically. This time around is different because it's the first time that I think the public has really gotten a visual of the inside of Bungie, the financial side, stuff like that. You can't game design yourself out of layoffs. I mean, I don't know. I guess if people were more interested in the game, then you could argue that the layoffs don't happen. I don't know. This has been such a huge part of my life, and I don't really want to see it go out with a whimper after surviving this long. But at the same time, you know, you've probably seen a slight shift in my content recently. More unscripted stuff, more entertainment-based content, gameplay, funny moments, stuff like that. October 2023 has been one of my worst months in a long time, and this channel needs to go through similar things that Bungie is going through right now. I am not going to be able to grow and thrive on just Destiny alone anymore. The audience just isn't there for that. I don't think it's going to be. I'm losing more of you than I'm gaining over the past few months. Viewership's hanging in there, but after Final Shape, I could lose 20, 30, 40, 50% of y'all if you're only here for Destiny content. So it's my job to now figure out how to keep y'all watching content at the channel. It's my job to figure out how to grow the channel in a different way, and I'm not really sure what that's going to look like over the next few months. I'm sure I'm going to be experimenting with quite a lot of things. I'm trying to form new relationships with other content creators, try to do more collab stuff. I'm going to be trying everything that I can think of. Plenty of other creators have been experimenting with other forms of content as well, and I think if you're someone who only watches Destiny content, that you should at least try to give some other videos a shot. Not just my channel, other creators too. If you don't like it, hey, no hard feelings. But if you want some of your other favorite Destiny creators to stick around, you gotta try their other content a shot. And other creators who might be watching this video, I personally think you should be working on new forms of content for your channel. There's nothing wrong with just wanting to stick to Destiny only, especially after Final Shape. Some people are still super into content creation for the game, and that's cool. But a major catalyst is going to need to pop up for the game if you really want to see any growth for your business. And I don't think that is something I am willing to rely on at this time. I know saying business when it comes to video game content creation for YouTube can be cringe, but it's still a job, it's still a business at the end of the day. It is still something I and others need to care about. The Suika game content did pretty well. I even had more people watching me play Suika game than I did Destiny. And I know I'd be pretty happy if I can get my variety gameplay content to around 50,000 views per video within the first 24 hours. So that's, you know, that's my goal to be striving for right now. I do not plan on changing how I will tackle Season 23 and Final Shape content when it comes to content creation, though. Destiny will still have a place on the channel for the foreseeable future. But I need the channel to become more than just Destiny. Otherwise, I don't think I will be able to continue to do this. So I ask for your patience while I figure things out, what works, what doesn't. All I can ask is just give it a shot. Give me your feedback, all that kind of stuff. And I thank the people who are already supporting and engaging with it. Destiny is still going to be around, but when there's not that much to discuss, expect other content. As for my sabbatical, it is being moved. I just don't know where to just yet. I was thinking about making it the 3-month window where Final Shape would have been, so March, April, May. But if I'm going to be experimenting with other content in that window, it doesn't seem like a great time to just stop and then come back for Final Shape only. So I'm still thinking about it. Like, that's the time that I need to be making a new identity for the channel. I want people to get used to the idea that variety content on the channel is not going to be just a rare thing, but a more normal thing. And just up and leaving after season 23 is over is maybe not the best way to handle that. So I think that's the bulk of what was discussed. Might have been another thing or two in there that I missed, but I think that's everything. I hope that the people of Bungie are able to bounce back from this, both the employed and non-employed. I don't have ill will towards the people still working on the game or anything like that. I hope they succeed, and I hope that leadership and upper management gets it the hell together. I hope everyone's able to bounce back and still make a good game. I hope the people laid off all find new gigs, new paths in life. I don't want to see the game fail or anything like that. I'm just not that kind of guy. I hope Bungie is able to get to a point where they can thrive. I hope Destiny gets to a point where it can reinvigorate people to want to play and not just get eye rolls and hatred from the gaming community at large. Yeah, I'm pretty bummed about all this, and it sucks, and I hate it. But I think that's all I got for the time being. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.